Well, happy Monday. It's a new week, a new series of Devos, and I'm excited to start this new series. But first, I just want to remind you, we're going to be getting together in person for youth group this Wednesday. So make sure to check our Instagram. Make sure to look at the links in our bio on Instagram to find out all the details about how we're going to get together and have a bonfire and youth group on the parking lot this Wednesday. So I just wanted to make sure you didn't forget about that, or that you had heard about that. But this week for our daily Devos that we're posting on Instagram and on YouTube is we're talking about the 6 names of God and why it's so helpful and so encouraging and so important that we understand these names of God, because they help us understand who God is and they help us to know Him better and to know Him more and grow closer to Him. So the first name of God that I want to share with you is found in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. So another thing is important to remember, that even though God has many names, He's 3 persons in one. These names all give us a clue as to some of the attributes of God. They give us little insights into His character and to who He is. And the first name that we're going to look at is found in literally the first verse of the Bible, Genesis 1:1. And it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." In that summary statement there, we learn a lot about God. The word for God in chapter 1, verse 1 of Genesis 1:1 is the word Elohim. And that is the word that is used for God all the way up through chapters 1 and 2. And what we learn about this is that God is a creator God. God is a God who creates things. He creates people, and He is the source of all creation and the source of all creativity. What can we observe about God through His name Elohim? Well, I think the first thing that we learn here is that it tells us where God came from, or a better way to describe that would be where God didn't come from. The first 4 in English, the first 4 words in our English Bible tell us a lot about God. It says, "In the beginning, God." Meaning, before there was such a thing as a beginning, God existed. God is self-existent, meaning He doesn't need anyone to sustain Him. He never needed anyone to create Him, and that no one can stop Him or make Him cease to exist. That in the beginning, before there was light, before there was darkness, before there was an earth, before there was stars in the sky, before there was any other being in the world, there was God. He existed in eternity past, He exists today, and He exists in eternity future. Spend a couple hours trying to wrap your head around that one. So it reminds us how big God is, because He has no source. He has no beginning. The next thing that we learn is that through the name Elohim about God, our creator God, is just how infinitely creative He is. I went fishing this morning, and I saw bass, I saw catfish, I saw frogs jumping in the pond, and they were all different sizes and different colors. I saw rabbits scurrying across the grass. Then I saw these weird creatures walking around a track around the lake. They were humans. Think about all of the things that God created, and how even among trees there's such a variance and such a variety. And even among animals there's such a variance and such a variety. And think about when you go on those hikes and you take those pictures on Instagram and you have those beautiful overlooks, how creative of a God He is. Then we think about us. In Genesis chapter 2, that same word Elohim says, God said, "Let us make man in our image." We learn that God is a personal God, and God created us, me and you, in His image. And we talked about that a couple weeks ago too, that every human that walks on the earth is an image bearer of God, of Elohim. Even people that sometimes we judge or we look down on, we don't think they're pretty enough, we think they're, we don't think they're big enough, we don't think they're small enough, we don't think, every person that we follow, that we see, that we come in contact with, your brothers and your sisters, your parents, are image bearers of God. He created us. And the final thing that we learn as we read through Genesis 1 is that every time God created something, He created light, and He created water, and He created plants, and He created birds, and He created fish. Every time He created something, it says God said it was good. It reminds us that when God created the earth, when God created us, that it was good. Now sin has entered the world. through our turning away from God. And we learn that the world groans under the pain of sin. We groan under the pain of sin. But it reminds us, it looks forward to God as a Redeemer, as a God who has given us new life, who one day will create a new heaven, will create a new earth. That same God with infinite creativity, with no beginning, with no end, is going to make all things right. So thank you for joining us. We're going to share another name with you tomorrow.